What's going on, guys? I hope you guys are well. Salute, Brendan. How's it going? I hope you're well. I hope you're good. What's going on, guys? Uh, let's get let's get some questions in, guys. Let's get some questions in. All good, Brendan. I hope you're well. Let's get those questions in, guys. Everyone in the live stream, smash the like button, guys. I'd really appreciate if you smash the like button. Let's get talking. I just saw a article from. I saw an article. And Benavidez Senior said that Canelo Alvarez doesn't want to fight his son David and Demetrius Andrade because both guys would beat him. H, I hope you're good. I hope you're well, guys. Let me get some. Link in the bio. Anyone wants to hop on, and we can get cracking. Start talking about boxing. Yeah, but yeah, smash the like button, all of you that are in the stream. I'd really appreciate if you smash the like button. Benavidez Senior is right. Canelo won't be able to go. So Christian, okay. So wondered where your live was after the big news about Andrade and Canelo. Yeah, that's big news. We need to talk about that. We need to talk about that. I did a video on that as well. Christian actually told me the news, to be fair. And I was like, I have to do a video on this because it's massive news. Christian says Benavidez Seniors is right. Canelo won't be able to plod through Andrade's shots to cut range. Andrade has power in both hands. I want to see Andrade Charlo first. That's a massive fight. That's a massive fight. I think I want to see that first, and the winner should fight Canelo, in my opinion. Andrade isn't as sharp as Plant. Has the same ducking tendencies as both Plant and Saunders. Jose says Benavidez Senior said on Aki TV that I heard he said that Canelo's scared of Andrade. Yeah, I saw an article, him saying that. I didn't know that he said it on a channel, but I saw him say in an article that he feels that his son and Andrade would beat Canelo. Hey Imran, behind doing over wonderful Thanksgiving in the UK tomorrow and who champion Andrade. He thinks that he wants a payday, and Canelo Alvarez. So what's the deal with both fighters? I'm gonna keep pushing. I want to see that fight. To be honest with you, um, I'm not sure we'll get it. To be honest, H says, okay, no one. Who's H says, I'm sure this is news. You're happy too, Christian. Yeah, this is great news. I think everyone's happy. I think everyone's happy. Um, Brendan Jackson ducking, as in being able to get caught with a counter uppercut. Yeah, he might get caught with a counter uppercut. Andre does duck low, but he's very awkward. He's very rangy and he's very tall. He's an awkward guy. Um, Andrade is superior to Caleb Plant and doesn't duck like BJS. He leans off the center line. There is a difference, says Christian. Andrade's taller. He's awkward. And Canelo, I don't know. It's a good fight, man. It's a good fight. But again, like I said, I think Andrade and Charlo need to fight at middleweight. Canelo's moving up to cruiserweight. I don't think unless Andrade moves to 175, I don't think he'll come down to 168 anymore. Canelo. I think he'll fight a light heavyweight after that. I just don't think he'll come back down to 168. So I think they may have to see him at 175. Okay, Christian, do you still think Andrade at this age still has what it takes to beat Canelo, or you think Andrade 3 years can also 3 years ago can beat Canelo? Some people think Andrade's on the slide. He's getting older, um, and he's not as good anymore. But we don't know that because we haven't really seen him against an elite guy of recent times. He's been fighting decent, like Quigley was fairly poor. We expected him to dismiss off Quigley. Liam Williams, we expected what we got in that fight. And the fights before Katandokwa and all of those guys, we expected him to beat. So it's hard to say. We need to see him fight like a Charlo. If he puts in a great performance against Charlo, I think that would be, I think that would be some statement. Okay, let's get the link in. Anyone that wants to hop on can hop on. Paste. There we go. Okay, let's get these questions. So listen to what Christian said. Listen to what Brian Rose said. What it's like to fight Andrade. Yeah, Brian Rose got battered by Andrade. I remember that fight. That was ages ago. That was ages. That's when that's when I first got to know about Andrade when he fought Brian Rose. That was long time ago. Long time ago. At Imran, would you rather have undisputed at middleweight after Gigi's fight and Andrade Charlo if it happens a winner of Andrade v Charlo v Canelo? I'd rather have the undisputed, man. That's a bigger fight. That's a bigger fight. Not a bigger fight than Canelo, of course. Canelo's a cash cow, but what I mean is for your legacy to become undisputed is a big thing, man. That's a big thing. So yeah, I would like to see them become undisputed. I'll have Andrade and Benavidez in David Morrell. I'll put money they'll beat Canelo. I'll have Andrade and Benavidez and David Morrell, and I'll put money that they'll beat Canelo. So you think Andrade, Benavidez, and David Morrell Jr. put money they'll all beat Canelo? Should definitely have a film study on live stream sometime to compare skill sets versus respective competition. Yeah, we could, but the problem is the copyright stuff. Did you see punches on Quigley? They are straight back. Canelo sleeps Andrade. I'd love to see it in the future as the next move for them after these fights. Yeah, of course. I want to see Andrade fight Charlo, and then I want to see the winner. Obviously, Gigi's fighting Murata, so hopefully the Murata and Golovkin, the winner of that fight's the winner of Charlo Andrade. That will be the perfect scenario, and we'll have an undisputed champion. That's ideally what should happen, but as we know in boxing, nothing ideally happens, right? So Max says there's levels to this. Canelo pretty much proved with this Caleb Plant. Andrade v Charlo is the fight to make. Canelo is too busy adding to his legacy. Canelo's gonna fight at cruiserweight. I think Andrade and Charlo need to fight each other. And that would be a great fight, to be honest with you. And to be honest with you, I think Andrade is the one that's calling that fight out. I think Charlo probably wants Canelo, or maybe feels, I don't know, maybe Andrade Charlo feels that, Andrade's high risk, low reward, but I don't really know where Charlo can make that kind of money. Like I don't know exactly what Charlo's been making, but I don't think it'll be what he could make to fight Andrade. So I don't know what the holdup is, unless he's waiting for a GGG fight, which he thinks financially more lucrative, or Canelo fight. So Brendan says the winner in Andrade v Charlo would be more prepared to fight a champion like Canelo. I don't know, their fanboys don't push for that fight. They want to see them get done like Plant and Saunders. Yeah, to be honest with you, I'd like to see Andrade and Charlo fight. That would be a massive fight. And a one that I'd be interested in for sure. But again, like I said, until it's signed, hopefully the governing bodies force it through. They force it through. They make it happen. So then, none of them can avoid it. I hope so. I hope so. They force that through. Christian says Canelo is short and must cut range against Andrade, but he won't be able to exert pressure. Andrade has pop to disconnect the forward pressure. Does he have the pop to stop Canelo in his tracks? I'm not sure. Does he? He's explosive, but I don't know. I don't know. I think Canelo's the type of guy, if he is getting outboxed or he's losing rounds, he'll just throw caution to the wind and start walking him down. Even if I don't think Canelo's the type of guy that would just, unless Andrade can hurt him and knock him down, and and I don't really see it. No one's been able to do that. So it's going to be hard to do. What do you think of Canelo at cruiser? I don't know. I've not seen him at cruiser, Robert, so I can't really answer that question. I need to see him at cruiser against Lungu Makabu. You know, you're dealing with some big guys now, man. You're dealing with guys that are, 200-pound plus inside that ring after they rehydrate. So I don't know, man. I don't know if Makabu lands one on his chin. I don't know. It could be dangerous. I expect Canelo to win that fight, but I don't know. Makabu might be. He's big. He's a big guy, and he can whack. So who knows what happens? Canelo will definitely be able to easily pressure Andrade. But if they ever fight, I do wish the best possible version of Andrade shows up. Andrade's getting older. Andrade's older than Canelo by a couple of years as well. So yeah, Andrade needs to secure a big fight. But then you know what? I was listening to the Boxing Social podcast, and they were saying that if Andrade can't get these big fights, he should just keep defending his title and making money, because that's what it's about: making money, keep doing his thing, and then eventually, who knows, down the road a shot will come. Yeah, that's right as well. But obviously, if you wanna be great in this sport, you have to fight. You have to fight the best. Otherwise, you're going to be remembered as a guy like Golovkin for majority of his career was fighting lower level competition. And he never really gets the credit now, because when you look back at his career, his like he fights with Canelo, even though I thought he won at least one of them, he doesn't seem to get the credit for his career because, he didn't get a decision over Canelo. When you look back at his career, it's like he's got most of his fights are against guys that we don't really care about. So yeah, man. I think, and I listen. I want to see Andre Charlo more than anyone else, but I don't like. I just don't feel Charlo's interested in that fight. So unless it gets forced, and I was having a chat with Christian earlier about this, I won't be surprised if Charlo even vacates and says, I don't care. Why the belt don't make me? Because these guys have names now. Like Charlo, even if he's got a belt or not, Charlo can he could practically do what he wants. If he doesn't want to, if he wants to vacate, he could vacate. I think he would lose a lot of respect amongst the boxing fans, but he may not care. So it just depends on the fighter's mindset. Max, Caleb Plant lacks power and no inside game. Before the fight, I said Caleb's lack of inside game concerned me, even though I picked Caleb, but Andrade has an inside game. Hmm. But does Andrade, when Canelo starts landing huge body shots and huge, if he starts landing big punches, is Andrade going to be able to take that heat? That's the thing. He hasn't really fought. I don't know. Andrade hasn't really fought a big puncher. You know what I mean? A guy that can crack him and really dent him. Canelo is a big puncher. Or not. I don't say Canelo's a huge puncher, but he's definitely a big puncher in the sense that I don't think Andrade's been in the ring with anyone that punches as hard as Canelo. So, you know, I even heard Lemieux might be a fight for Andrade. Was it Lemieux that they were saying that or was it Benavidez? I can't remember. I think it was Lemieux and Benavidez that they were talking about. That'd be a good fight. Lemieux can whack. I wouldn't even mind seeing Lemieux against Andrade. That'd be a good, that's a dangerous fight. Although I expect Andrade to outbox Lemieux, that's a dangerous fight because Lemieux could really crack. Yeah, I like the Benavidez Lemieux fight. That's a good fight. The fans duck boo boo. The fans duck boo boo. What do you mean by that? Christian says Andrade will beat Charlo. Andrade will take away Charlo's jab, and the rest will be history. Well, he's going to have to take away his jab because Charlo's got a very good jab, and he's very physically strong as well. Charlo, he's a big unit, and that will be a great fight. I would favor Andrade slightly. I would favor Andrade in that fight, but yeah, I won't be shocked if there's an upset in that. Or I'll call it an upset. For me, it's like a 65 40, no, sorry, 60 40, 65 35 in Andrade's favor. I think Andrade has a style that's all wrong for Charlo. And what I mean by that is Charlo has trouble with movers. He has trouble with guys that are fast. I saw that against Korobov. He struggled against Korobov. So for me, Andrade is a better version of Korobov. I just don't. I think stylistically, I think Andrade's all wrong for Charlo. What would you want to see Billy Joe at? What would you want to see Billy Joe at? What weight? At middleweight, he's not a super middleweight. He needs to go back at middleweight. But I don't really know what Billy Joe can do at middleweight anymore. I think his days might be done. I don't really think he's in love with the sport, and I think he did it for a few quid. I think if he is gonna fight, it's gonna have to be for a big purse, and it's gonna have to be for something substantial. Otherwise, I can't see Billy Joe fighting again. If I'm totally honest with you, Jose says I got Andrade beating everyone at 160 middleweight champs. Possibly, but he's got to prove it. You know, it's all right you saying it, but he's got to go out and prove it. Brendan Jackson, if Andrade is getting timed, countered, and hurt by Williams, Canelo with his skill set and ring IQ will get him out of there. Good. Listen, man, Andrade, Canelo is different. He's a different breed to what Andrade's been fighting. So it's hard to judge. I need to see Andrade in there with someone like a Charlo. And if he looks sensational against Charlo, then we can definitely start talking. My man Little Penny's in the house. What's going on, Little Penny?
Hi Imran, how are you?
All good, man. All good. It's good. Even better now talking to you. Did you hear the news, Little Penny?
About
The WBO and WBC might force a unification fight between Jermall Charlo and Demetrius Andrade.
Okay, wow, I like that.
I like that as well. I like
Good
that as
test
well.
good test for Andrade.
Yeah, it is very good test. To be honest, good test for Charlo as well.
Yeah, I feel like the other Charlo that's at 154, I think that's the one that's been tested a lot, with
Yeah.
whereas the one at 160, he's been cherry picking a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be a good fight. I think that the winner of that fight should get Triple G, don't you think?
Yeah. I think that you know what they're saying. I think the governing bodies, apparently, what I was reading, or Christian sent me it. Apparently, the governing bodies are trying to work together to try to make an undisputed champion in that weight. So they're trying to do a little mini tournament. So Murata fights GGG. The winner becomes a unified champion. Then Andrade and Charlo fight, and then the winner fights for undisputed.
Hold on, Imran. Hold on a second. But doesn't who's got that mandatory with Castagno?
Oh, no, that's at 154.
Oh, does it? Okay, all right.
That's 154. This is 160. So,
Okay.
that's Jermall. That's the other brother, the one that you were talking about.
Sometimes I get mixed up between those two.
Yeah. So the one at 154 is Jermall.
Yeah.
ELL, and then the one at 160 is Jermall.
Yeah. But yeah, they need to get a undisputed at 160 because there haven't been one since Miguel Cotto, right? Or no, since Canelo. Since Canelo beat Miguel Cotto, because Miguel Cotto beat Sergio Martinez.
Was he undisputed?
Sergio Martinez? Yeah, I think he was.
You sure? I think there's only been like 5. I think there's been Jermaine Taylor, Usyk, Crawford, Josh Taylor, and who's the other one? I don't think Sergio Martinez was.
Okay, all right.
I think Hopkins was the other one, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure Hopkins was the other one.
Yeah, because Jermaine Taylor beat Hopkins, and then Pavlik beat Jermaine Taylor. Is that right? Yeah.
Kevin Effect says Winky Wright.
Yeah.
That was the WBC and the ring. Says I think Bernard was undisputed though. I'm pretty sure Bernard was undisputed.
Yeah, he was. But then Jermaine Taylor beat him. And then Kelly Pavlik beat him. But then Hopkins beat Kevin Pavlik. Kelly Pavlik.
But that's what I'm saying, because I know there's 5 undisputed champions, from like the modern era, 4 belt era. I'm pretty sure that's Bernard, Jermaine Taylor, Usyk, Crawford, and Josh Taylor. That's 5.
Yeah. Okay.
I think
Yeah.
so. I hope I'm not missing anybody. I swear it's those 5 though.
Yeah, but Imran, I hope if Andrade does get that fight with Charlo, I hope he doesn't run around in a ring because sometimes these so-called boxers, when they compete against a B minus or a C plus fighter, they get aggressive, right? But then when they compete against B plus or A minus fighters, like say Charlo, for example, they make the fight boring. And I hope he doesn't do that because he has a history of doing that.
Yeah, you mean like cruising through fights, like
Yeah,
just yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. Andrade. He's not always been fan friendly, Andrade.
yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, Benavidez Senior said that Canelo, he goes, he doesn't want to fight Demetrius Andrade, because he knows that Andrade would beat him. And same with my son. He goes, he doesn't want to fight anybody that's a threat. And he goes, Andrade and my son are a big threat to him. So he doesn't want to get in the ring with those guys. What do you make of that? What do you make of that comment that he's made there?
Every time Canelo fights a skilled boxer like Lara
Yeah,
or Austin Trout,
yeah.
uh, or Mayweather as well, he
Hmm.
always struggles. So a guy like Demetrius Andrade, yeah, he can probably trouble him, but he won't win a decision in Las Vegas. If it comes down to
Hmm.
a decision, where, for example, everyone thinks that Andrade outboxed him, he won't get that decision. Canelo will win that. As far as Benavidez, no, I think Canelo can beat Benavidez. Benavidez doesn't. To me, Benavidez is like a better version of Jaime Munguia. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
A little bit, but Canelo will probably outbox Benavidez. But that will be a great fight, though. Great fight. I like that fight better. The Benavidez versus Canelo fight. I think that will be like. I reckon that will be like an all action fight.
Yeah, it would be. It would be, but I think Benavidez probably gets stopped, if I'm honest with you.
At
But yeah,
175.
at 175, yeah, I don't know whether I've seen Benavidez hurt multiple. Like, I've seen him dropped, and I don't think he's got a great defense. I think he's a bit fundamentally flawed, and I think against someone
Yeah,
like Canelo,
he's hittable.
um,
It's definitely hittable, but I don't know. He's a big guy, dude.
yeah, he is a
I don't know
big
if
guy. He's a
Canelo has
big
enough
guy.
power to knock him out.
I think he could. I don't know. I just think that I don't know. I don't know. It depends. Obviously I need to see him in the ring with Canelo to make. It's hard to say because Benavidez has been fighting nobody's really, Little
Yeah,
Penny. So it's hard
yeah, I
for
know.
us to judge.
And also, I also thought that Bud Crawford wouldn't knock out Porter, and I
Yeah,
was wrong. And you actually said that he was
yeah, I
going
did
to,
say
but
that he would.
I didn't think so. But that shows you, anything can happen.
Yeah, yeah. Rare breed. What's going on?
What's up, fellas?
All good, man. All good. It's all even better now speaking to you. Um,
Yeah.
I hope everything's well, man. I see your picture. I see your profile picture there. You're rocking Jaron Boots tennis.
Yep, the future
Yeah.
pound for pound #1.
Yeah, yeah, I have to agree. I like that. I like Jaron Boots tennis. I think he's a great fighter. Great.
Yeah. Now as
I
far
think
as
he is going to be a future pound for pound fighter. I think he's
yeah,
gonna. I think he's gonna find it hard though because he's not going to be able to get the fights. He's going to be avoided. He's not going to get the
yeah,
big fights anytime soon.
I, I hope it's not like a Triple G situation where you can see with your own eyes that this guy's really good, but he's going to have to fight lower competition, and people are like, oh, he's not fighting anybody. Like, but I mean, it's not something he can control. So
Yeah,
hopefully he
yeah.
gets one of those fights. Like,
I will say Shakur as well, though. I think he's a future pound for pound fighter as well.
yeah, could be
Shakur
could be 1 and
Stevenson.
2. Shakur,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it's going to take somebody special to be Shakur. He might retire undefeated. He might be one of those guys.
Yeah, yeah, he's a great fighter. He's a great fighter as well. But
But
what's
Imran,
your take then? Have you heard the news then, Rare Breed? Jermall
Hmm.
Charlo and Andre, the governing bodies are looking to force a unification fight. Or Eddie, sorry, I'll say that again. Eddie Hearn has petitioned
Hmm.
to the WBC and WBO to force the Charlo and Andrade fight. What do you make of that?
I hope so, because Andrade he deserves a big fight. Um, yeah, that needs to happen. And as far
Would you say Charlo's ducking? Would you say
no,
Charlo's ducking Andrade?
it's more complicated than that. The younger Charlo had a chance to fight Boo Boo at 154, and I guess Boo Boo or Andrade dropped out the last second because of something. I forgot what it was. But after that, the Charlos don't really want to do business with Andrade. But like, y'all gotta let that shit go, man. That was a long time ago. Like, just fight. That's how I think.
Yeah,
So
I want to see that fight. I want to see that fight. But what do you make of it when they say like, oh, Andrade's a nobody and Andrade's
no,
he's not, he doesn't sell, and that's what the Charlo said, didn't he? He said
I've
that he's
never
a
heard.
horrible fighter.
I've never heard a fighter say that I don't want to fight him because he's a horrible fighter, especially if that guy has a belt. I mean,
Yeah.
that actually should make you want to fight that guy, right?
Well, Canelo said it first, and obviously then Charlo jumped on the same bandwagon. Yeah.
Charlo, I feel like the Charlos, both of them, they have like a um I'm not gonna say they fear Canelo, but they have an elevated view of Canelo. Like if you watch that behind the scenes during the Caleb Plant um
Yeah.
Canelo fight, you could see them in the crowd saying, Canelo's tired, Canelo's tired. I can beat Canelo. Like you could tell
I
like
saw that.
they view Canelo as almost like unbeatable. And
Yeah.
if you're mentally defeated like that already, you got no chance against them. Like so they if they're in the back of their minds, I don't think they think they can beat Canelo, or at least the big one. So
Jamal.
that's why yeah, like they low key um they what's the word? I don't want to get in trouble. Um
They view him very high.
they kiss
They
they
overrate
kiss
him.
Canelo's ass a lot. Let me just say
Right.
that.
Mm.
That's my opinion.
Well, I reckon it's the young. I think not the younger one. Sorry, the one at 154. That's more respectful.
Yeah,
Jermall, not so much. The one at 160, not so much. Jamel,
yeah,
he was the one that said, "Oh well, Canelo's a legend," and he praised Canelo a lot. But
yeah,
Jamal, not so much. Maybe because Jamal thinks that he's going to be fighting Canelo. But like,
yeah.
I just find the Charlos a bit like I like the Charlos. I used to like their energy, but I don't know, they're a bit strange. Like they're a bit, you know what
They're
I
too
mean? Like
emotional.
they're a bit
Yep.
strange.
But they're exciting fighters to watch, though. To be honest, the
Yeah,
Charlos, they bring it.
No, I
I
like
thought.
Jamel. I like Jamel, the one at 154. Like you said, Little Penny, he's fought everybody really. And you know what? Fair play to Jamel, because now I'm hearing he's gonna fight Castano in the rematch. And a lot of people were saying he was gonna duck Castano.
Oh no, because he knows he wants to make history. And
Yeah,
I think uh that's a very interesting matchup because Castana could just overwhelm him with like volume, but
yeah,
Charlo can he's shown that he can knock him out. So
yeah.
that fight could go either way. That's a good fight still.
You
But
know,
he's underrated.
Castano beat Errol Spence, didn't he, in the amateurs?
Yes, he did. That's a great fight, by the way.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
might happen.
I would love to see that. I'd love to see Jamel and Castano. I think the first time. Who do you think won the first time? Little Penny and Rare Breed.
I thought Castano won.
Mm,
That was actually a robbery, in my opinion.
yeah,
But uh Jermell showed how dangerous he is. Like
yeah. He
he
hurt
only
him
needs one
multiple
punch.
times.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
only needs one punch.
I
Yeah,
thought it
yeah.
was
He's
a
a big
draw,
puncher.
actually.
What did you
I
think?
think the I think the bigger Charlo is more skilled boxer. Like he has more variety in his
Yeah,
offensive
yeah,
repertoire.
yeah, yeah,
The younger one just seems like more explosive.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like he's got that. He can knock you out at any point.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
Hey,
I agree.
you're right. Go ahead,
Redbreed,
sir.
can I just make a point? Like, you were saying before about Boots Ennis, where he's going to be like avoided, where Triple G
Hmm.
went through that same himself when no one fought him, and and then when somebody fought him, he was already a bit washed up when Canelo got him. So
Hmm.
one way to solve that is maybe to fight someone who's the same age as you, like who's a star, like Virgil
Hmm.
Ortiz. Fight him. Whoever is the winner becomes like just as big as a Spence or a Bud Crawford. So that way,
But
if whoever
yeah,
wins that fight, then you have like a case to say, hey, Bud Crawford or like Spence fight me now because I just beat Ortiz or I just beat Boots Ennis. That's one way you do
yeah,
rather than waiting and waiting and waiting.
that's true, Penny. But for one, I heard Virgil say that, oh, that's a fight for the future because it looks like Virgil is more focused on like the current champions right now. That's what he's going after, like Ugas. Well, actually, he also meant called out Thurman. So he's looking for like the gatekeepers, which is what they are at this point. Porter, Thurman, and Danny Garcia, and if not them, the champions. Who you guys know who those are. Um, Boots Ennis, he says he views that like as a future fight. Now his dad, he said that he'll fight him right now. So I mean, you're getting mixed signals from them. Boots, I've heard from him directly. He said he's willing to fight Virgil right now. Um, yeah, that would work. I think he should fight that Russian guy though, Butiev. But
Mm.
why would Butiev risk his? He just got his title. Why would he risk his first title defense against somebody as dangerous as a young lion like Duran Ennis? You know,
But problem
but
is with Virgil Ortiz and Jaron Ennis is the fact that Virgil Ortiz at the minute is a bigger name and a bigger star at this point. So why is he
yes,
going to risk fighting Jaron Ennis and potentially losing that name that he's got at the minute?
exactly. So Virgil is going to have a better resume, I think, going forward. Maybe at the end he won't, but he has a little bit easier road because one, I this is just my opinion. I think fighters look at Virgil and they look at Duran and they see a little bit more weaknesses in Virgil,
Yeah,
so they rather,
of course.
yeah,
But
they,
I
yeah,
believe Ennis would knock Virgil Ortiz out.
yeah, and Virgil is Mexican, so automatically he's going to have a bigger fan base and more draw.
Yeah,
But
that's
then,
what
having
makes
said that, though, Rare Breed, having said
Yeah,
that, although Virgil's got a lot more flaws, I still think Virgil's very dangerous for Ennis as well because
oh,
Virgil's
definitely,
like Virgil's a monster.
yes, he is.
So that'll be a good fight either way because Ennis against Delorme, he took a couple shots, you know what I mean? And against Virgil, that could be
Mhm.
dangerous because Virgil's a big puncher and he's fast and he's tough, you know what I mean? Like he showed that
Yeah,
against Kavalauskas.
yeah. Drawn definitely can be hit, especially when he hurts somebody. He gets really excited. He wants to get him out of there.
Mm,
But I feel like if Boots really wanted to, I feel like he could just like bore you to death and just outbox his opponents. But that's
yeah.
not how you gain new fans. You gotta
Mm,
be a knockout guy to become a star.
and
mm,
Redbury because Virgil is from Mexico and he's got a fan base. If he
He's from
fights,
Texas.
yeah, but he's a
Yeah,
Chicano. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But if they fight against each other, that will be a big fight, right? And it doesn't mean that if one wins, then they never fight again.
Hmm.
If the fight is close enough, you can always have a rematch. You know what I mean? Where
But
they make each other great.
you
You
know,
know what I mean?
but what if Boots knocks him out in the first round? Because
Well, yeah,
you remember,
that's
yeah. Do you remember another upcoming fighter? Because losing in this sport, unfortunately, the way you lose can like really hold you back. Like you remember
yeah.
that young fighter Lubin?
Yeah,
Erickson
Erickson
Lubin.
He
Lubin,
got
yeah.
knocked out in the first. Jackson Lubin. He got knocked out by Jermall Charlo. You don't really hear that much about him
Yeah.
anymore, even though he's won like his last 8 fights. He
Yeah,
has to
yeah,
take a
I
long,
agree.
hard road back. So it's a dangerous risk to fight one of those guys early. But I
Mm,
see what you
I'd
guys.
agree with that. I definitely agree with that. I wanna ask you, Rare Breed, because we didn't get a chance. I didn't get a chance. Um, a thing. Benavidez Senior said that he feels that Canelo would lose to Andrade and his son, and
Hmm.
he's ducking those two guys because he looks at them as dangerous. What do you make of it?
I don't know about him dunking Benavidez,
Hmm.
but he's definitely there definitely is a pattern with him ducking Boo Boo Andrade because I
Hmm.
believe he could have fought him at 154. Canelo didn't want to fight him at 160. He had a belt, I believe. Well, maybe it was 154. He had the belt, but either one, he never wanted to fight him. Um,
Hmm.
or Charlo for that reason. Charlo was his mandatory at 160, and Canelo vacated that belt,
Hmm.
which is how Charlo got his belt in the first place. Remember?
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
So, so I mean, I know you're a Canelo fan. I'm not trying to bash on your guy,
Hmm.
but you already know I'm not the.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
I
The
believe.
thing is with the thing with
Go ahead.
what I was gonna say is that I think Canelo has shown more he's shown more I feel like what he said of late, he wants the Charlo fight more. Like he's been more vocal about wanting to fight Charlo
Yeah.
than Andrade. Like, Andrade, he's completely dismissed the fight against Andrade. He's basically said, I'm not interested. That guy will never get the fight. And
Stylistically,
he's talked about
Charlo,
Charlo,
Charlo's
Benavidez,
yeah,
Beterbiev, but he's
definitely.
sidelined Andrade. Why do you think that is? Do you think that's he's got some kind of beef with him? Do you think he's scared that
Well,
he doesn't want to lose? What is it?
two things. Charlo didn't look good against Montiel,
Yeah.
and Charlo is more stylistically a better matchup for Canelo. He believes.
Hmm.
Like you said, Charlo can be outboxed,
Yeah.
and then Andrade's got those just weird movements. Herky jerky. He's tall. He's got reach advantage over you, and he's got some pop. He's not pillow fisted. So
Yeah.
that's what Canelo sees. He obviously sees something because I've you know terrible fighter, but that's what Canelo says at least. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. So we just gotta wait. We just gotta wait and see. We just got to wait and see what happens. Um,
Yeah,
but to be honest, I want to see him Andrade fight Charlo. To be honest with you, I think that's the fight to make now. Yeah.
yeah. If the Charles go through with it, but I mean, he's gonna be put in a corner eventually, like because
Yeah.
Charles has been chasing the Triple G fight, but I don't think Triple G wants to fight somebody like that at this point in his career.
But the thing is, I think
What's
you know
that?
what? I think all of these guys will have no choice because I think the
Yeah,
Canelo fight now is gone. I don't see Canelo coming
you
back
think
down to
so?
one.
If Canelo does not fight one of these guys, whether it's Beterbiev, Bivol, uh, uh, Charlo, or Demetrius, then like I'm sorry, but that's a mark on Canelo's legacy.
Hmm.
You can't,
But
you
just
can't,
say, but just say
you
if
got.
Canelo goes to
Yeah,
heavyweight and fights like a Joshua or something, then
that's not gonna happen. But let let me stay on that point real quick.
Hmm.
Um, as a pound for because I hear a lot of Canelo fans say, why do we give him like why should he have to fight all these guys and they don't fight each other? Well,
Hmm.
for one thing, when you're the pound for pound number one guy, you're held to a
Hmm.
different standard than everybody else. It just comes with the territory.
Yeah,
When
I'd
you're
agree with
LeBron,
that.
yeah, when you're LeBron James or any like high tier athlete, you're not held to the same standards as the lower level guys. So that's
Hmm.
why people want to see Canelo fight the best.
Hmm.
And um, fighting this dude at 200 pounds, whatever his name, the Umbaku guy,
Mukabu.
Mokabu.
Yeah.
Um, like, if let's be real, if this guy actually was a threat, I don't think Canelo would have picked him because there's two other guys in that weight class, Bradis and the British
Coley.
guy, Okoli.
Yeah.
Those guys are much more dangerous than Mokabu. They're younger and they're actually like they fought well, at least Bradis has fought elite competition. I believe Bradis gave Usyk his toughest fight, right?
Yeah. 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 He did. Yeah. He did.
Yeah. So, I mean, whatever this
That
guy's and also it's kind of suspect to me the way how friendly, um, how you say his name again?
Mukabu.
Mokabu was with
Yeah.
what's that guy's name? Mauricio Suleiman.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
because
sorry.
it's
You know how shady boxing is, and the
Mm,
WBC is the most shady of all these organizations.
mm.
WBO is probably. I'm sorry, WBA is probably the most shadiest, dude. Because it got 3 belts in one weight class.
True, but hopefully Canelo gets rid of this guy and comes back down and fights one of these guys. Um,
But I don't see him coming. I don't see him coming. I just don't see it. I don't see like. Do you honestly think he's gonna come back down to 168 after going to 190
Nah,
or 200? Where
175 will come down to.
I think like
okay, if he's going to stay at 190, then you need to fight a Coley, Bradis, and if or
yeah, I'd agree
you
with
know,
that. I'd agree with that. Or come down and fight Bivol or Beterbiev, right?
yeah, because it looks like you're just picking on the weakest champion at a certain weight class and then going and then leaving
So
after
who does he
you
need to
picked it
fight
wrong.
then? So who does he? Who does he? So after Makabu, do you think just say if he fights Beterbiev then
Mm-hmm.
after that? Because let's be honest, I was listening to Max Kellerman, and
Mm-hmm.
Max Kellerman actually said that that's the fight to make in boxing: Canelo v Beterbiev.
Yeah. Or
In
actual
boxing,
fight.
no, that's not the biggest fight in boxing.
Or
That
not,
would
not,
be
not the biggest fight. It's not the
oh
biggest fight. What he meant is that's the biggest fight for. That's the biggest threat to Canelo right now, Beterbiev, in his opinion.
yeah, but if you think about it, Berterbiev, honestly, other than the fact that he hits really really hard, which I
Yeah.
don't know a guy as durable as Canelo that really is going to affect him that much.
Hmm.
He's tailor made for Canelo. He's flat
Yeah,
footed
yeah,
like a
he is in a way. Yeah.
yeah. Canelo can easily outskill this guy as long as he can take his punches, which is a question.
But the thing is, we also thought that about Golovkin.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Like
Yeah,
we also thought that
Bertavia. Yeah, but Triple G is like Floyd Mayweather compared to this Russian dude.
yeah,
You know, in terms of
yeah, I
skill.
get what you're saying, but I still think yeah, but Bataviev's a lot bigger than Golovkin as well, and I don't know, man. That's a dangerous fight. I know what you're saying, but
Hmm.
that's a dangerous fight because remember
I hope.
Bataviev's also a very
Yeah.
skilled amateur as well. He had a extensive amateur background. This guy, I swear he floored. Did he? I don't know if anyone knows this, but did he floor Usyk or beat Usyk as an
No,
amateur?
Being
usually
amateur,
got the
yeah.
decision, but Beterbiev got robbed.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. But yeah, this is what I mean. This is the guy that's operated at the very highest level as an amateur as well. So I don't think he lost many amateur fights, Beterbiev. So I don't know, man. I think that might be a hard fight for Canelo. But then again, Reb, we need to see him fight. We need to see those big fights after that. I do agree. I want to see the Andrade fight. And I know a
I
lot of
want to
people have
see.
criticized Canelo for
Yeah,
fighting Makabu. To be honest, it's not
Canelo.
really a fight that I'm that interested in. Of course, I'd rather see him fight Benavidez or Andrade or thing. But at the end of the day, he probably looks at it and thinks I can become a 5-weight world champion, you know?
Mhm. Canelo needs to
But
be in more 50-50 fights. Like when you're the
yeah,
Yes.
pound for pound, yeah, when you're the pound for pound number one guy, you can't be facing the likes of. I mean, I know he was a champion, so okay, that one's okay. But Yildirim, I don't know how that guy became a mandatory. I thought you had to earn a mandatory. Don't you have
yeah.
to like beat people to get a mandatory? This
That
guy
was
was
a
coming off of
disgrace.
yeah, like the WC gave him like that's how I know the WC is corrupted, but forget about Yildirim. I'm not as high on Billy Joe Saunders as other people. You just said it yourself. He's not really committed to the
Yeah.
sport. And then Callum
But
Smith.
Rebri, but
Callum
Rebri,
Smith
there's not
lost
enough.
to Roger.
Rebri, there's not a lot of fighters that Canelo can face
Mm-hmm.
who is a 50-50. Like, for example, he's a huge favorite for against Benavidez. He'll be
Mm-hmm.
a favorite for Bertervia because, as you know, he's like tailor made for him.
No, you're right.
Bivol, Bivol
You're
is not
absolutely
really
right.
like, you know what I
No,
mean.
you're
Like,
absolutely right.
who doesn't need to fight?
Little Penny, do you think he's a favorite against Beterbiev?
Yeah,
I
I
think he
do because
is.
I think he's just a
Hmm.
bit skilled for Berterviev, and Berterviev's not like, you know, he's not like Usyk or anything, or where he like,
Yeah.
you know, where you think, oh my god, this guy's like the best, you know, the best at his division per se. Like, you know, it doesn't stand out as much. Um,
Mm.
So Canelo, look, I reckon Canelo will be the favorite for that Beterbiev fight. But in terms of like 50-50 fights, I don't know what fight can he fight? Where maybe
No.
it's probably the Andrade fight. If Andrade goes to 168, that's
Mm-hmm.
probably his best 50-50 fight.
But that wouldn't really be the Andrade fight would be a difficult fight. But at this point, you couldn't say Andrade and Canelo is a 50-50 fight. Canelo would be a substantial favorite to win that fight. Yeah,
I
Andrade
would say,
has the skills to beat him.
yeah.
But it's not a 50,
Look,
like no one's a 50-50 with Canelo right now. Let's be honest. The only fight, see, Canelo's in a difficult spot because Canelo can either fight fights where he's got nothing to gain. If Canelo fights Andrade, he's got nothing to gain in the sense that it might be a dangerous fight and he's not really got anything to gain from fighting Andrade. But then on the other hand, if he fights someone like a Usyk, he'll be a massive underdog and he's got a huge size disadvantage. So where does he really go? He can either go into a fight where he's a 80-20 underdog or where he's a 70-30 favorite. Do you see what I mean? Those are the types of fights out there for Canelo right now. I don't really think there's any 50-50s in around his weight class.
But here's the difference. Here's the difference. The difference is when he's fighting guys like Callum Smith or even Caleb Plant, it's more like 80-20.
Yeah.
If he were to fight guys like, in my opinion, Charlo, Andrade, Bivol, or the Russian guy, Berberti, I can't even say his name, Arthur.
Yeah.
It's more like 60-40.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Canelo wants to take that risk because he hasn't proven so far.
No, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, Red Reed. I think he'll fight him. It's just that it'll just take time because he can't fight all of them like at the same time. Like, so I think it just takes time, but I think he will fight probably all of them. But I don't know if he wants to fight Andrade though, because Andrade brings nothing to the table, but it's a high risk because Andrade can outbox him, and Andrade's big too. He's a big dude, so I think that's the only fight that I can see Canelo not doing.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, remember when people were putting pressure on Floyd to fight Maidana after Maidana destroyed Adrian Broner? He took that fight immediately right afterwards.
You mean like when he fought the first time and it was close?
Yes, and it was a good fight because Adrian.
Yeah, it was good.
Maidana,
Great fight.
Yeah, Maidana has
actually a lot of people the first time he fought thought it was a cherry pick.
Maidana?
No, the first time when he fought.
No.
I thought people were very upset.
Yeah, I agree.
People were very upset at the first. Yeah, trust me, Rare Breed. At the time, people were like, "This is a cherry pick, man. This is not a good fight." And then Maidana came and gave Mayweather probably his hardest fight ever.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Because at that time, people thought that Maidana was tailor-made for him because Maidana has lost to a lot of. He lost to Khan. He lost to a few people before.
Kelnick, Devin Alexander.
Yeah. And let's face it, Maidana is not on Floyd's level, but it's just that because Maidana made a rough fight, it made it seem like, to me, Floyd won that fight, but it was close. It was like, it's one of those 8-4 type fights. But because everyone thought Maidana did better, everyone thought that it was like a 6-6 fight, but it really wasn't. Floyd beat him.
Let's be real, though. The only people Floyd didn't fight during that era were Amir Khan, Paul Williams, and Margarito. Other than that, he fought the best of his era.
Winky Wright too.
Nah, Floyd. I feel Floyd cherry picked a lot, and he was supposed to fight Khan. He done a poll on Twitter asking who do you want me to fight, and it was Maidana or Khan, and he says whoever gets the highest votes, he'll fight them. Khan got the highest vote, and he still didn't fight him. He fought Maidana, so I feel you're wrong about that. He didn't want to fight the best. He cherry picked. Khan was a dangerous fight for him.
Way better fighter
so he didn't want to fight him.
Yeah, Makai, that's true. Also, and Adrian Broner wanted a rematch against Maidana too.
The thing is with that Khan Floyd Mayweather thing is the fact that I'm a massive Khan fan, but you got to say that Mayweather, as Rare Breed pointed out, he did fight better fighters than Khan. But there was definitely a reluctancy there for Mayweather. He could have fought Khan on multiple occasions, and he didn't.
Floyd,
But
if you think Canelo's a cherry picker, then Floyd is a 110% cherry
no,
picker.
but the thing is, here's the thing, Makai. Here's the
cherry
thing.
picks so hard.
I agree. I agree and disagree. If you look at Floyd's resume, Floyd's got Hall of Famers on there. Look, how many? If we go through Canelo's resume, right? How many Hall of Famers has Canelo got on his resume in comparison to Mayweather?
Yeah,
we're talking about Miguel Cotto. Mm-hmm. We're talking about Oscar De La Hoya, and I know some of them weren't.
How many are in their prime though?
No, exactly. But here's the thing.
Thank you, Mike. That's what I say. He never fought them at their
best.
He never fought them at their best
at all. Here's the thing.
De La Hoya was 34 years old.
I agree, Mike. What you're saying.
De La Hoya was, mate. If you think De La Hoya was in his prime and his best,
all of these guys were past their prime.
I'm sorry.
Corrales was in his prime.
Well, the guy who
I understand. Yeah, Corrales.
Ricky Hatton was in his prime.
Ricky Hatton was in his prime. But after he moved to 140 and upwards, let's face it, Floyd did cherry pick a lot of those opponents.
If you think
Canelo's this is my thing.
This is Menachem on Floyd.
That's exactly
okay. Let me answer.
What Makai is saying is on point. This isn't about saying that guys don't cherry pick, because the reality of the situation, because of the structure of boxing, you can honestly say that every fighter cherry picks. You could honestly say that. The question is who does it more than Makai's on point. It's obvious, bro. It's obvious, unless you're delusional, that Floyd Mayweather, he would say it in interviews. Yeah. He would say it himself.
Mike, you're right, bro. Mike.
Yeah. He never. Hold on. Did Floyd? Let me ask you guys a question. Did Floyd ever try to be undisputed at 147?
Nope.
No.
Okay. Who was at 147? He couldn't have beaten.
Who? Why?
I mean, I remember when Lara was Floyd's mandatory for like 2 years, and the guy never fought him.
Wait, who?
Lara
at 147?
Yeah. He was Floyd's mandatory for like 2 years, and he never fought him or anything. Floyd, it was blatantly obvious he picked.
Was Lara a 147 fighter? Lara never fought at 147.
No. I'm saying he was mandatory for Floyd's belt at 154. Yeah.
At 154? I mean, Floyd. I don't know if you know this, but Floyd's a pretty small guy. He really shouldn't be fighting at 154 anyway.
But you want Canelo to fight Bradis, and Canelo's tiny compared to him, so that makes no sense.
I mean, if Canelo's willing to fight.
But Floyd moved up as well. So if he moved up and fought the weakest guy,
standard
guy. Come on, you need to keep the same energy.
That's not even my point, anyways. The stands are not different. Let me tell you. Let me finish. Hold up. Let me finish real quick. My whole point is, even if you feel like Canelo, can I finish?
He literally brought up my bro right now. He brought up my Donna. Okay, my Donna. Hold on.
Okay.
Let me talk, bro. I haven't talked.
Oh, I think he's lagging a bit. I think he's hearing what we're saying like 20 seconds after.
Earlier about Canelo not having 50-50 fights. We know that 50-50 fights is based on the perception of people. There's some people that think that Benavidez people that think Benavidez can beat him. There's people that think that Andrade is his toughest man. There's a shitload of people who consider Andrade. So the opinion, so your 50 fights is based on your opinion, straight up opinion.
All right.
So
let me say another one of my
who Sanders and the guys that he's already fought. He's fought multiple guys. He's had 50.
Is there something wrong with Mike's connection?
Career. He's been the under multiple times. He was the underdog against Triple G in both fights. He was the underdog against Floyd in a catchweight that he agreed to as well at the age of 23. So hold on. So When
I
you
think
say
Mike's having.
Mike, you need to drop. You need to drop in and drop out, bro.
Mike, I think your connection is messing up.
Or he
Mike
hasn't taken 50-50 fights. He's taking fights, bro, in the worst position possible.
Mike, your audio is lagging, bro.
I think he's gonna join back.
He's having trouble with his thing. But yeah. So basically, yeah, Rebri, what were you saying? I didn't quite get it because his was gone.
Okay, so even if you say Canelo and Floyd cherry pick, it's indisputable. Floyd fought way tougher fighters, especially in the beginning of his career.
He fought better competition. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
But I mean, I feel Canelo's fought more guys in his prime, in their prime, than Floyd. I mean,
I agree.
Who the hell's Floyd fought in his prime?
Caleb Plant. Is Caleb Plant going to the Hall of Fame?
I'm not saying that. Yeah, but you're right. Well, you need to look at it this way, right? Yeah, when Floyd already fought him, they were already Hall of Famers. Yeah, but how do you know Caleb Plant can't? How do you know Caleb Plant? So you think Caleb Plant's not going to do anything?
Okay, Makai. When you look at Caleb Plant, do you see a special fighter?
Do you know? No, I'm just saying. Right, all the guys Canelo's fought now, yeah, like guys that Canelo's. I'm not saying they are, but how do you know they can't become Hall of Famers? Like we can't just assume things. Like these guys,
Billy Joe's not going to Hall of Fame. That's
Caleb Plant, he could become a Hall of Famer. We don't know yet. The guy is like,
we can hear you, Mike.
Yeah, we can hear you, like, yeah. That's what I'm saying. So we can't just assume things and crap on Canelo and hype Floyd up. Like, it makes no sense.
Makai.
Yes.
Is Liam Smith, Rocky Fielding, Yildirim, or Caleb Plant, Billy Joe Saunders, or any of these guys potential future Hall of Famers?
No.
We don't know. We don't know about Caleb Plant,
come on, bro. Stop it.
Right. Okay, then now let me name Floyd.
Robert Guerrero. Let me ask you a question. Red Breed.
Go on, Mike.
Let me ask Red Breed a question. Red Breed. Is Andrade a...
He's a hell of a lot better than those guys.
But answer the question. Is he a Hall of Famer?
No.
Okay,
if these guys will fight him.
Okay, your silence is giving us. So then, why the hell do you want Canelo Alvarez to fight? Why the hell do you want Canelo to fight him if he's not going to be a Hall of Famer either? Why? You're contradicting yourself. You're contradicting yourself, bro. Come on.
No. The difference with Andre is people don't want to fight him, so he doesn't have the opportunity to prove that.
Bro, he dug Charlo and Erlan Lara in the past, man.
Charlo doesn't want to fight him.
Not anymore. You're right. Not anymore. But what about in the past? What about in the past?
No, because he feels like he ducked out of his younger brother's fight at 154. The big Charlo doesn't want to fight Andrade. And then Triple G really doesn't want to fight Andrade. And Canelo doesn't want to fight him. So what does he have left?
And where can I say something here? Obviously you're saying Canelo's fought no Hall of Famers. I mean, what about Kovalev? I mean, you brand up Mosley for Floyd, so Kovalev, Mosley, Golovkin. Canelo also fought Cotto. No, he also fought Cotto, so they're Hall of Famers. I know you're going to say, he maybe didn't fight them at their best, but Floyd didn't fight Cotto at his best. Floyd never fought anyone at their fifth and best.
Okay. But Kovalev, who do you know who Anthony Yarde is? You should.
Well, yeah, I do.
So
you're judging that of
Anthony Yarde,
one win he had.
Who's not that good in my opinion, almost knocked out Kovalev. I would hope Canelo could beat that washed-up version of Kovalev. I would hope so.
Yeah, he wasn't at his best. He wasn't at his best,
it was still mentioned before.
Canelo was so much smaller.
He's at his best, but Floyd never
Sullivan Barrera knocked him out. Sullivan Barrera knocked out Kovalev.
Let's be honest here, Kovalev beat Andre Ward the first time anyway.
It's because
Kovalev is a rapist and a drunk.
Like for example, Andre Ward.
So who was Floyd then? Isn't Floyd a woman beater? I mean, didn't he beat up his wife?
No, I'm saying that because of his off-field issues or off-the-ring issues, Kovalev was never going to beat Canelo, especially at this point. Like Imran just said it. He was washed. Andre Ward beat the real Kovalev. That's back when he was like
So was Cotto, who when he fought Floyd. So was Mosley when he fought Floyd.
How old was Cotto when he fought Floyd?
Wait, you think Cotto was in his best? After all those wars he had after when he was in a different weight and everything, you think he was at his best?
How old was he? I
don't know how old he was. I know he was in his
people
prime,
bring up age. Isn't Floyd older than Pacquiao?
Are you right? Are you being serious? You really think Cotto was in his prime? You really think Cotto was at his best when he fought Floyd? He was at his best when he fought guys like when he fought Pacquiao and all that. But come on, he was not at his best when he fought Floyd. No way. He looked slower and everything. He didn't look as athletic as he used to. He was not in his prime.
Okay,
you can't say
he was 31 years old when he fought Floyd. Most fighters are in their prime at 31 years old. That's how Canelo is right now.
Not after the wars Cotto had and everything. He was never the same. He was not the same at all, man. And Cotto, he wasn't 31.
Didn't Cotto fight? He fought Pacquiao after Mayweather, right?
No, he didn't. He fought him before.
He fought him before? Because most of Pacquiao's opponent, Floyd, once they share together, Pacquiao fought him after Floyd.
Not really. I mean,
There's
definitely a few Hatton and De La Hoya, but it's not all of them. Definitely not all of them.
Hatton, De La Hoya.
Let's go through Pacquiao's resume here actually as well.
But the point is
go for it, Imran. Go for it.
No, go on, Mike. You go. You go.
No, I was gonna say the point here is not about. It's like what Makai said. It's not about. We can all call out resumes all day and night. It's the double standards, bro. The hypocrisy, man. You know what I mean? That's what I don't understand. Like the expectations for a certain fighter, the standards for a certain fighter are different, and then they bring up their guy. There's excuses all the time. Oh, it's because of this. Or no, it's because this couldn't. It didn't happen because of this and that. Oh, but this guy's a Hall of Famer. It doesn't matter that he's in it, that he's prime. But this guy wasn't in his prime. Like it's not consistent. The criteria that they use is not consistent.
Oh yeah, and Reed about Pacquiao. Yeah, like what I need to say here is, Pacquiao, he fought the guys Floyd didn't want to fight, that Floyd ducked. I mean, he fought Furman, Bradley.
Mm-hmm.
Floyd didn't want Clottey, Margarito. I mean, I remember when Floyd met Margarito face to face. The guy couldn't stop stuttering. He looked so scared. He looked scared for his life when he was face to face with.
They asked Cotto and they asked Marquez. You guys both fought Floyd and Pacquiao. Who was better? Both of them said Floyd. So should I take your advice, or should I listen to the two guys who actually fought?
But what makes no sense. What I just said.
What is the point of that, though?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No, my point is Floyd was that guy in his era. He's the best fighter of his era.
Okay. Well, let me tell you something. I saw an interview recently from Marcus, where he said Floyd Mayweather was a good fighter, not a great fighter. So if you want to take Marcus' point of view, I mean, that's up to you. Everyone's gonna have an opinion.
That's okay. I mean, he still said he's better than Pacquiao.
Well, yeah, of course. He has a rivalry with Pacquiao. He has a rivalry with
nobody
Pacquiao.
beat Marquez the way Floyd did.
But this is the thing, though, dog. We don't have beef. This is about Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather. I don't give a shit. Like, I really don't give a shit. If Mayweather is better than Pacquiao, I don't care, because I could pick out other fighters that I think are better than Floyd Mayweather. So what is the point? I could bring up Sugar Ray Leonard and say, hey, Sugar Ray Leonard fucking Floyd Mayweather. And what am I going to get, a trophy for that? It doesn't even matter, man. Look, this isn't about Pacquiao or Floyd Mayweather, bro. This is about, let's get back to the original point, the whole cherry picking thing. I don't like the double standards, bro. That's my point. You can't defend something that Floyd did and then call out another guy and not call out Floyd for it too. Like, it's the same thing.
Mike, this is my last point, Mike. Look, every time Canelo fought some type of tough competition, it was some type of controversial decision, or either that or he got his ass whooped. Triple G beat him. I think Lara beat him. And we know Floyd beat him. So what's his best win? His best win, you could say, is a robbery against Triple G. Congratulations.
Okay, that's your opinion, bro. That's not the opinion of the majority of people. You want me to give you a list, since you brought up boxers earlier? You want me to give you a list of Hall of Famers who had Canelo winning in that fight, that Triple G fight? I could give you the list. You want it?
Which one? Which fight?
No, the second fight. You said the second fight was a robbery.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No.
So you want a list? So who? Okay. So I'm gonna tell you me earlier. Why should I care what you think if Roberto Duran says Canelo beat Triple G?
Roberto
second
Why
Duran.
should I
wasn't
care
a
what you
robbery,
think
though,
if
was it?
George Foreman? Why should I care what you think if George Foreman and Errol Spence said that Canelo's beat Triple G?
Also, another thing is, it's funny how Canelo he all of a sudden he wanted to fight
Okay,
Triple
so you're
G
gonna switch
after
it
he
up
saw
now.
him
Okay.
struggle. After he struggled against Danny Jacobs.
Wait, say that again.
When Canelo, after he watched Triple G struggle with Danny Jacobs, all of a sudden he wanted
Finally,
to fight
man.
Triple G. He
Nelson, what's
wasn't
going
really
on?
too.
How you doing, Imran?
Good. Let Rare Breed finish his point, then you can interject.
Yeah. So Canelo wasn't too fond of fighting Triple G until he saw him fight Danny Jacobs. Danny Jacobs did very good in that fight.
Is that just an assumption?
No,
I think
it's
it is.
obvious. Canelo only likes fighting guys after they're coming off of bad performances. Caleb Plant after Caleb Truax.
How was Caleb
Callum
Smith
Smith
a bad performance? Just because he didn't knock him out, don't mean it's a bad performance.
No, he didn't look good in that fight.
Every single round.
He didn't look good in that fight at all.
Bro, he was gonna have to fight Caleb if he wanted to be undisputed, man.
Yeah,
Gonna
of course.
have to fight
And
Caleb Plant.
can I ask you a question? Why did Canelo want to go undisputed at 168, but not 160 and 154?
I think he wanted to
try. He was going to go undisputed 160, but he got stripped of his IBF title.
Yeah.
Why did he get stripped?
He moved up to fight Kovalev, become a fourth
Why did he
division
get stripped?
champion.
He got stripped because Oscar De La Hoya made a deal. If they don't get it done in 12 days, then he gets vacated. Because Derek was asking for more
vacated
money.
his belt because he was
Canelo Alvarez. Okay,
that makes no sense.
That's your opinion. That is your opinion. Bro.
Yeah, the IBF belt got vacated. Charlo has nothing to do with the IBF. It's Derevchenko. So that makes no sense. Why are you bringing Charlo involved in this?
Makai,
well, for whatever reason, he didn't want to
tweet. He even put out a tweet talking smack about Oscar De La Hoya, bro.
Is that
after he got stripped? He put out a tweet talking shit about Oscar De La Hoya.
I mean, why do you think Canelo left him? Yeah, Canelo's actually left him. There's a reason why he's left him because of stuff like that.
Oscar also said that he didn't want to fight Charlo.
Regardless,
is he lying about that?
He actually said that about Jermall Charlo, though.
Yeah,
not Jermall.
Well, either one. He said that Canelo did not want to fight Charlo.
Yeah, and Oscar De La Hoya also said that they offered Charlo X amount of money to fight him, and he declined to fight. So I mean, like, you're just picking your spots, bro. Like you're cherry picking. You're like Floyd Mayweather. You're the Floyd Mayweather debates.
Caleb Plant also declined Canelo after because he gave him like a 4-week notice before they fought. That's probably what he did with Charlo. So if he declined for that reason, that's a good thing.
But Charlo's denied that he turned it down.
Regardless,
because if it was, he would have said, "Oh yeah, they."
Let Nelson let Nelson have a go.
Let's see what Nelson has to say.
My bad.
Regardless, whichever way you look at it, I mean, he's only 31, and if you look at his career right now, by far that's a larger, more accomplishment that Floyd did by the time he was 31.
No, it wasn't.
I mean,
Stop it.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
Floyd, yes, it is. I mean,
no.
Floyd wasn't even really known until he fought Oscar, and he was about 32 when he fought him. You know, so when you look at the time span, Canelo has accomplished more and has gone further than Floyd by this stage.
Nelson, I'll counter that though. Canelo's got a big advantage nowadays where there's social media, there's all of that stuff. Back then, I remember when I was coming up, you know what? I didn't even know who Floyd Mayweather was until he fought Ricky Hatton. But I was really young at that point, and I wasn't really that much into boxing at that point. There wasn't really the social media that there is now. But what we got to realize is what Floyd did at the back end of his career. Canelo's it's gonna be very difficult. Like even if Canelo now goes on and to have a great run, I don't see him by historians being viewed greater than Floyd. It's gonna be very difficult. You see what I mean?
Especially when the guy beat your ass.
I agree with you to a certain point, but when you look at a fighter's career, it's like a work of art.
Yeah.
And when the painting's all finished, Canelo's career will be a much better painting. Floyd's biggest contribution to the game was to give fighters independency. That was his biggest contribution.
Right.
But his career it's not as glamorous, to say, in a sense of performances and accomplishments in the ring than Canelo. It would not be. And to be honest, to your point,
you've got a point. You possibly, but here's the thing. If you were to ask 100 people, Nelson, if you were to ask all boxing experts or in the media or whatever, and you were to ask them when Canelo finishes his career in 4 or 5 years' time, who was a greater fighter, Floyd Mayweather or Canelo Alvarez, I'm pretty sure the vast majority would pick Floyd over Canelo.
Yeah, but when we're looking at the majority of something doesn't mean the quality of something. If you was to ask the quality, the quality of people, you would get a different response.
Okay, Nelson, let me ask you.
I would go as far as to say that in a click, in a process of initiation between fighters, they appreciate Canelo more than they do Floyd.
Okay, I'd agree with you there. They probably will. Canelo's more light. But I'm asking you, Nelson, who do you think's a better fighter? Who do you in your opinion, you've been watching the sport a long time, who do you think was better?
I think I give Floyd his respect because, like I said before, it's tough to beat the system and you have to be smart. And he proved that you can be smart, you can be successful, you can make it in the game. So, like I said before, his biggest contribution was to give fighters the freedom and independency to which they have today. But as far as having a more, challenging and attractive career in the ring, I think Canelo has been better.
How does he have a more challenging career in the ring?
Because Floyd was too conservative. Let's go back. You said let's talk Corrales. Corrales was at 130. That was his last weight class. I've said this before. What many people don't know is Corrales was actually going to jail 2 days after that fight. What fighter do you know is going to perform well, knowing 48 hours later he's going to be serving 2 years in jail? And may I also say, may he rest in peace, man, because the kid lost his life in a motorcycle accident. So, that was a very sad case with him. And then you bring up the Cotto fight. You bring up the Cotto fight. I will remind you that Cotto had actually fought Margarito that June for the second time. So he actually fought Floyd a month and a half or 2 months later after the second Margarito fight. I didn't even know that. And I'm going to tell you this. Look, I appreciate Floyd. What he brought to the table is very appreciative, man. I mean, it's good for the sport. I'm happy for the fighters to see him. He's a great example. But as far as accomplishments, Canelo's bringing prize fighting back and boxing back to his natural, place in this.
Hey, can I say something? Can I say something about that?
Go on, Mike.
Man? Look, just to show you guys,
if I had to have a painting, I would have Canelo's painting. Because that fighter's career is like a work of art, and when you finish it, if you even look at the fighters, the variety of different styles, sizes, and weight classes that Canelo has faced, even the variety of the styles have been different. Whereas Floyd has fought many repetitive styles. It was pretty much the same styles over and over.
That ties in with what I was gonna say right now, is that you really can't, to answer that question, you really can't compare their careers, man. You really can't compare the careers. They had different careers. They started in a different way. Floyd Mayweather wasn't really a cash cow, or wasn't really a star until he fought De La Hoya. Canelo Alvarez was a bigger star, when he first started. He was already making $300K versus bodies like Aries Landy Lara pay-per-views. So the path of each guy is completely different. On top of that, you can't control who's in your era. There's some guys, like, for example, Terrence Crawford, who we know is a great fighter, but there's no Hall of Famers in and around division, right? So there's certain things that fighters aren't able to control. Now, the problem that I have with Floyd is that I think gets a shitload of credit based on the eye. He gets a shitload of credit based. And when Imran presents a question, when he says, "Who do you think people would view as a better fighter?" I think the majority of people, when they look at Floyd, they look at Floyd as a great skilled fighter. That's how they view him. But when you look at his resume, his actual resume, his resume is overrated. Because the Hall of Famers that he did have on his resume, he didn't fight one guy. The Hall of Famers that he fought, he did not fight one guy where he was the underdog. And when you look at the names, like an Oscar De La Hoya, if Oscar was in his prime and that fight would have took place at 147, knowing that he's older than Floyd, there's no way Floyd would have been viewed as a favorite over Oscar when Oscar
Mike.
I mean, some people still think that.
No, well, wait. That's dumb what you just said.
Here's another thing. Hold on. Let me finish. Let me say my dumb shit. Oscar, okay, on top of that, he fought another Hall of Famer in Juan Marquez. Juan Marquez was not a fucking welterweight when they fought. He was not a welterweight. He refused to fight Manny Pacquiao. The fight was supposed to happen. That's a knock on his legacy. Even but
you see, that's something that I respect Floyd for that, because people need to understand their limits. So it takes a lot of courage to know when and when not to. So that's the part where I also give Floyd credit. You know, a lot of people don't see that part, that you have to understand your limits, you know.
Okay.
So that's his biggest contribution is being a smart guy, man. I mean there's nothing wrong with that. You gotta appreciate it.
Let me respond real quick to what he just said. So he just said that Floyd never fought anybody where he wasn't the underdog, or where he was the underdog. Who will Floyd Mayweather face with?
The percentage wasn't solid enough. You know, like let's take for an example. We talk about Pacquiao, we talk about Marquez. These are lightweights that actually moved up to welterweight, where Floyd was actually the bigger guy. Let's take Victor Ortiz. I mean,
Thurman was bigger than Pacquiao. That didn't stop him.
What happened?
Thurman was bigger than Pacquiao. That didn't stop him.
No, I know that. I mean, Floyd. I'm not thinking. We're in comparison to the careers. You know, the comparison between Canelo challenges and what he's doing to Floyd's challenges and what he did. And when you compare it, the risk and the challenges Canelo has been taking have been more at a disadvantage to him than when Floyd made.
So fighting these UK bums is disadvantage to Canelo?
You can't say UK bums, because when Floyd beat Hatton, did you call him a UK
Hatton
bum?
is a future Hall of Famer.
No, for Hatton, 140 pounder, a 140 pounder.
Ricky Hatton was pound number 5 in the world.
Check this out. This is why this is ridiculous, dog. We're talking about supposed bums here, right? But Floyd Mayweather says he's 50-0. He's counting Conor McGregor, dog. He's counting Conor McGregor when he says he's 50-0. And we're talking about bums. He's counting an MMA fighter, man.
49-0.
You know that it's so funny that we make.
This is why it's ridiculous.
It's so funny how we even so blind to make the 50-0 seem like it's actually like a record or a marker, when there's been plenty of guys that have reached that and have actually surpassed it. And it's just weird how people are willing to accept this as an actual record. I guess 50-0, the record of it would be that it's really hard to do that. You know, you will have to be very selective. And if not, you're one of the toughest son of a bitch to ever put on a pair of gloves. Those are the only ways you're going to get to 50-0. So, but
the other thing is bribery.
Discredit Floyd. A lot of Floyd fans feel
I agree with everyone, the points that you're making. But even Rare Breed, I agree with some of the points that you making. But when you bring up Ricky Hatton, man, I'm from the UK. Ricky Hatton had a big fan base, but come on, bro, he wasn't a great. I'm gonna be
No, but he was
honest with you.
pound for
That
pound
guy
number
is
5.
no, but
because Floyd
no,
beat him,
Rare Breed. Come on, like who did he beat? Who did Ricky Hatton beat?
Okay, maybe not Ricky Hatton, but Shane Mosley was coming off that victory over Margarito.
Shane Mosley was
He destroyed
38,
Margarito.
man.
Yeah,
He was
and you want to hear a
38.
funny story?
You guys keep
let me
claiming that he
educate you.
ducked Margarito. He destroyed Margarito.
Yeah, let me educate you on that a little bit. Look, Floyd Mayweather, what was it? You was talking about Mosley. Mosley had came off of beating Margarito. He had went into camp to actually fight Berto, and then Berto pulled out of the fight, and 6 weeks later he was fighting Floyd. You know, it was always something. I appreciate it. You know, that's smart and all of that, but it was always some sort of little thing tied up to these fights, man, and it's what always tarnished. You know, I
Not
believe
just
that
that,
if he had,
Nelson. Remember,
if he had been pushed, he could have
Margarito
done
got caught with the rap thing, with the raps. Remember, he
Which
was
I
coming
never-
out. He was going into the fight.
which I'll be honest with you, I've never believed that to be true. In that fight with Cotto, the problem with Cotto was he couldn't avoid that uppercut, and you do not put 8-ounce gloves on a big man like Margarito's hands because he will hurt you. That's a big guy with big hands. You put 8-ounce gloves on him, he'll start crushing your face with that. With his, I'm telling you, with that uppercut.
No,
Cotto,
I get you,
Nelson, are you Mexican?
Nelson,
What happened?
what I was gonna
Are you
say,
Mexican?
Nelson, what I was
No,
gonna
my
say,
brother. Listen, I'm not. I'm
What I
not
was-
Mexican, brother. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Nelson, what I was gonna say is that
And I want you to understand, I'm a
prior
follower
to the fight,
of my favorite fighter of all time is the Brown Bomber, the original Brown Bomber, Joe Louis.
Joe
You know what I
Louis.
mean? That's my original number one. It's not Ali. It's not. It's that you know, just to show you how if I'm a fan of a fighter, you know. So, and that's the only real fan. Everything else I just follow, you know, because I'm just a follower of great talent, of story, you know, and what a lot of people that watch this don't seem to understand that, you know, it's very rare that you get to see a fighter developing. You know, we usually adopt fighters already developed. You know, but
what's rare?
let's take for an
Hold up.
example Floyd.
Yeah.
Floyd fought one style his whole life. It was very rare that you see different styles, different changes, different adaptations. But
That's not true.
every time he fights, it's like it's always different. It's just always something new. It's always something changes. It's just very unique.
Can I ask you a question, Nelson?
Yeah.
What are these same styles that Floyd fought his career?
Well, there was mostly lightweight, speedy guys. You know, like let's take for an example, who was his first questionable loss to?
Castillo.
Yeah, that's not very different from Marquez. It's not very Arturo Gatti and Manfredi. You know, these guys, they all pretty much had the same style at that time. It's not
Nelson.
Robert Guerrero.
Yeah. Real quick,
Yeah.
Nelson. But unlike Canelo, any questionable wins that he had, Floyd gave him an immediate rematch and did better in the second time. Floyd, Canelo doesn't give rematches.
Because you need the only reason those fights were questionable was because the stages in which Canelo took him in. You know, you have to understand that if you was to put that guy again in there with Canelo, he's most likely going to get knocked out. You understand? Because you're catching a beta process of a development. Once that goes on to the next stage, you're going to have a tough time beating that again. So,
the Canelo, but Nelson, the Floyd that Canelo fought is what you call the beta version of Floyd. That's the weakest version of Floyd. The beta version of Floyd.
Who? Which one?
The 36-year-old Floyd that Canelo fought.
No. You misconfused.
Pound for pound, number one in the world, Floyd.
A lot of people don't understand that fighters' prime is not based on physicality. A fighter's prime is based on mentality. Is Floyd by the time he was 30? And I will go back to the Triple G fight. A lot of people, Triple G was out of his prime. No, it wasn't Triple G's strength or power or any of that gave Canelo problem. It was his maturity. It was that he was already a mature man that understood, you're going to have to go through some fire to get through this. And that maturity is what he has a tough time facing, because a fighter, he's mature. So Floyd at 36, that fight with Canelo, to be honest with you, I'm going to be honest with you. I've watched many of Floyd fights, and the ones I didn't, they were just too boring, so I fell asleep. But
you're biased against it, man. I think we have a real
75% of them I did watch them through, and I would say that that's probably the best Floyd I ever seen. And the reason why he was as good as he was is because he was a little scared. He was a little scared that this kid may catch him. If you look at the beginning of that fight, there was some winging shots that Canelo missed by a little bit. That put Floyd edgy, and it made Floyd super sharp. You understand? I've never taken credit away from Floyd. I believe if Floyd decides to put his foot down and fight, he can really do some damage, and he can probably have success. But this will put him also at risk, and the liability is that he can probably get hurt, because I don't see him having the durability to sustain a shot.
Nelson. So 2 points. The best version of Floyd was the one that destroyed Arturo Gatti. That's the best version of Floyd.
No, that was the worst version of a Gotti. That's what you're seeing.
Yeah.
No, Gotti had just beaten Ward. But anyways.
Yeah, after taking 3 wars with the guy.
It wouldn't have made no difference. The skill gap is too big.
Punching bag.
That was the best version of Gotti.
Look, when Floyd, when Floyd
y'all never let me finish, bro. Like, damn.
No, go ahead, my brother. Let him finish, Mike. Let's
can I finish? Y'all just keep cutting me every single time. Like, can I finish?
No, you got it, my brother. Go right ahead, man. Speak up.
All right. So, to me, Pretty Boy Floyd is the best version of Floyd. That's him in his absolute prime.
Yeah.
The 36-year-old Floyd, his hands were done by that point. He's just an older man. And let's be honest. The second point is most 36-year-old boxers, they're not fighting young, hungry lions at 23 years old. Because in the history of boxing, the young, hungry lion usually takes out the old guy. There's very rare. It never happens where the older fighter takes out the young, talented prospect out. It doesn't happen. You saw
when you say, but Rare Breed, when you say Floyd was young, Floyd was the best fighter in the world at that point.
Yes, because Floyd and guys like Pacquiao are different. They can maintain their greatness longer, but most guys at 36 are no longer the same. At least in
I would say this. Look, I would hate saying this, but I used to say a long time ago that Floyd was the first prize fighter allowed to turn prize fights into boxing matches. And it's because before Floyd,
you want to be a brawler?
Let's take for an example Sugar Ray Leonard. You remember Sugar Ray Leonard? He was a speedy defensive mover. Same thing with Pernell Whitaker and these guys. But even with their defense, they were very offensive. These guys can hurt you. They were looking to bang with you. They were looking to fight with you. So, the Floyd was like the first boxer allowed to rig the point system, which is okay. And
you just said you watched all his fights, but if you know that early in his career he was doing that, but when he hurt his hands, he could no longer fight like that anymore.
Yeah, and you know what? That's a great point you bring up, because young guys like that, when you put on the gloves on them so early, and they hitting this bag, that eventually starts creating a lot of damage in their hands. So it's very important that you protect the fighter's hands. So you're making a very good, solid point there. And look, I agree with you. If Floyd decided that he want to fight, Floyd can throw down, but it would be his resistance is the reason why he was very conservative, and it needs to be appreciated. Well, So I'm not against Floyd.
He didn't have to do it, Nelson. That's the thing. He didn't have to do it.
Correct. In comparison with Canelo is this is rare. He's kind of like pushing. He's straining it out again. I mean, if you look at Davis the other day, the Tank Davis talking about the great example that he's being to other fighters. Floyd made the fighters take financial control over themselves, but Canelo is also he's gonna come and implement. You have to also take risk, if you want to make it here, because even Floyd took risk. You know what I mean? So it's all straining out. So, but I believe that by the end of Canelo's career, he will offer this more than Floyd did. In a sense.
I disagree, but I respect your opinion. I disagree, but I respect your opinion.
No, that's all I need from you, my man. That's why I believe instead of having a like and a dislike button in the videos, YouTube should also put up a peace sign.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you ain't gotta always dislike or dislike something. You can just respect, what the person's got.
You just said something about risk. If Canelo really was the guy taking risk, he would fight better BF at 175.
It's always like that with him, right? Every time that he does take a risk. Look, let me tell you something about that Triple G fight, man. You don't even know the amount of energy that was spent in that fight. If we was able to take the energy that those two guys spent in those two fights and put it into a battery pack, we'll probably be able to light up 3 homes. That's how much energy went into that. I don't even know the forces that were used in that fight. Canelo doesn't need to prove anything no more. If he spends his career proving stuff to people that's never going to believe in him, he's going to throw his career away. He's out to prove something to himself, and we got to let him be, just like we let Floyd. We just sit back and admire the show.
I always forget how young Canelo is, man. I mean, he's still got ages to go. He's like 30, 31, I think.
31, and it's incredible at this stage already to have. He's a veteran. A lot of these guys, the other guy before was talking about how Charlo and them look up to him. Of course, he's been in the game so long that to many he's a veteran. You know what I mean? Even though he might be even younger than Crawford and Charlo themselves, but he's a veteran to them because the guy's been on the field forever, man. I mean, wow, that's when
you know it's admirable. That's when you know it's admirable, man, because we know that if Canelo wasn't a foreign guy and he was actually American, be hyping him up even more.
I mean, imagine how they'll be hyping Pacquiao if he was American.
So they're earning his respect. I mean, think about that.
Yeah, it's a unique case, man. I mean, the sad thing about things like this is that by the time people start appreciating, it's already too late. You don't get to grow with the fighter, because you have to develop with the fighter as and it's very rare you get that to follow a guy's career. He's pretty much like boxing's kid star. He's like Dustin Bieber or one of to boxing. He just gets been around since he was a kid, man, looking like one of the Dirty Dozens, and coming up to where he is at right now. It's a great painting. It's the value of the story, the whole picture. You know what I mean? When you bring it all together,
it's like you said, Nelson. It's what you like, man. If you like Floyd's career, then cool. Canelo's career, if you think it's better, it's cool. If you like Canelo's career,
you can like them both.
At the end of the day, man,
you can like them both, but you might value one more than the other. That's just the difference. It's right. That's just pretty much it. So you can like them both, but you have a different value.
The reason why I don't like the comparison, either, dog, because they're really both from different weight classes. Like far apart, really. Floyd is a smaller guy. Canelo's doing his thing is in bigger weight classes. Canelo his own legacy in a completely different way than Floyd did. So they're both great in their own way.
Yeah, it's hard to come behind a Floyd act, and then you have to do this act. I mean, imagine how hard that would be to follow Floyd and still have success.
Manny Pacquiao.
Mike,
it's like you being a rapper and Jay-Z just finished doing his set. What you supposed to do now? Go out there and what? Everybody's leaving.
Nelson, Mike, the thing I have with Floyd is that had he fought all of those guys that we wanted him to fight, like Pacquiao in 2010, Paul Williams in 2009, and Margarito in 2008, and Cotto at 147. I actually thought that he would win all of those fights. But the fact that he didn't do it,
he just didn't want to risk it.
Exactly.
Yeah, he didn't risk it.
Exactly.
That actually, his legacy is actually it's lowered a little bit. Whereas with Pacquiao, because Mayweather did that, Pacquiao's legacy is actually increased because he didn't do that. Because he fought Morales, Barrera, and Marquez at their primes, and he fought Ricky Hatton at his weight class at one.
That's why we call him the Pac-Man. That's why we call him the Pac-Man, because he was just chomping everything, man. You know?
I mean, dude, think about it, guys. Floyd retired when he was like 31.
Yeah, I think it has something to do with the hands, like this.
Whatever it was, it had a lot to do with.
Yeah,
it had a lot to do with him just not caring that much about boxing. He would say it in interviews all the time. His thing was about making the most money possible. And if Floyd Mayweather a different type of mentality, like let's say like a Manny Pacquiao or a Canelo Alvarez, I'm going to look for different ways to enhance my legacy, whether it's making this fight, moving, different multiple weight classes, undisputed, et cetera, he probably would have beaten a lot of these dudes because he was going to be favored, but he didn't
Pacquiao
care.
Never went undisputed.
He didn't care.
Pacquiao didn't even go undisputed.
I understand. But okay,
also,
here we go again, man. What is it about Manny Pacquiao? Like, you got to Manny Pacquiao has nothing to do with this, man. What's it about Manny Pacquiao?
You just said Canelo and Pacquiao. You just said Pacquiao and Canelo. If you had the same mentality.
But you have to conserve
because Pacquiao didn't give a shit. That's what I meant.
It's like
he already took care of Pacquiao, so who cares?
Floyd would have if he at least would have given us one of those fights.
For example, Nelson. Floyd and Pacquiao could have easily made at least 2 fights together. Easy, if they wanted to. Especially if Floyd wanted to. They could at least 2 fights. Because even if Floyd would have beaten him, let's say in 2010, Pacquiao being as good as he was, he would have continued to win, and eventually they might have later on in a rematch, just for the money itself. But that was never going to happen because Floyd didn't give a shit. Now compare that to Manny Pacquiao, for example, against Marquez. The first time they fought, Marquez gave Pacquiao a shitload of problems, and that never stopped Manny Pacquiao more times. So
how come Marquez could give Floyd
the difference?
And Mike, it was Marquez that actually ducked Pacquiao in that rematch because Pacquiao offered him the rematch, but Marquez's trainer wanted to fight him in Thailand or something. I don't know if you guys remember that. Like, he went to some Asian country and to get a belt. I think it might have been against Chris John, and he actually lost that fight. So and then they fought again, I think in 2007, I think. And then Marquez gave him hell too. And Pacquiao didn't even need to get him a third fight because Pacquiao won the rematch, right?
How come Marquez couldn't give Floyd that same issue?
What?
Why couldn't Marquez give Floyd the same issues?
Because Floyd didn't make weight. Like the catch weight was at 144. Marquez weighed in at 142, made the weight, and Floyd was at 146.
Okay, so if you were actually,
the reason why Marquez couldn't give Floyd the same issue because Pacquiao comes at you while Mayweather, he retreats from you. So Marquez is not really an aggressive fighter. He's more of a stand your ground, by all means, don't give up any ground type of fighter. Because, when you look at fighting, there's 3 pretty much styles. The guy that goes back, the guy that stands in his his ground, and the guy that comes forward.
That's a nice way of saying. That's a nice way of saying that Floyd is more skilled than Marquez and Pacquiao. Thank you.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But the thing is, it doesn't mean that Mayweather is greater than Pacquiao. Pacquiao achieved more than him.
If you think Pacquiao has a better resume, that's okay. He's still not a better fighter.
Pacquiao's looking to close the show, which is what performing fighters do, and Floyd is looking to win the match, which is what boxers do. and that's why I always call them the boxing prize fighter, because I mean, at the end of the day, we want the guy, regardless whether he's a boxer, a mover, or count whatever he is. He has to try to close the show. You know what I mean? So Pacquiao would try to close the show with Marquez.
They're also smaller, man. They're also naturally smaller.
Whereas Floyd is kind of like, on top of that, he's a little bit bigger, and now he's also very defensive minded. So it becomes more challenging for him.
If Mayweather fought Pacquiao in 2010, I actually think that Mayweather would still win, but it would be a lot closer fight than their 2015 fight, though. Like
maybe not.
Sorry?
I said maybe not, but Floyd said that fight didn't happen because Pacquiao refused to do testing.
Oh, no. Hold on a second. 2010, Pacquiao agreed to all of Floyd's demands, but Floyd changed
Didn't he say he's scared of needles?
But that's what promoters do. You know that's that's, to be honest, I think the steroids and the testing and all of that, I think is part of promotional agenda. People utilize that bring attention.
It's not. So do you guys think it's outside the?
It's all about eras, guys. It's all about eras. Like if you put Floyd is a great fighter. We all can agree. He's one of the most talented fighters that we've all seen, right? I'm pretty sure we can all agree. But if you put Floyd, let's say you put him in the Hoya era of welterweights, or let's say you put Floyd and you put him in the Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, Roberto Duran era, how would his career have gone?
No, he wouldn't. Mike, you know what he would have done?
I want to go back to. I want to go back to something Imran had asked me because of the media, social media. To be quite honest, if I recall, I think that Floyd Mayweather was the first actual fighter to benefit off the social media boom. Yes. Because it takes, I believe that it wasn't he the developer 24/7. They started, that's when YouTube really started. I mean, 2006, 2007, 2004, around there. I believe Floyd Mayweather was a very fortunate fighter to have been part of that boom, and that's where his career kind of skyrocketed, because he would just be able to promote himself in ways that fighters before him weren't able to do. Fighters before him, they had to promote themselves fighting. That people needed.
Good for him that he did that. But just to answer Mike's question, if you put Floyd in that era, Floyd wouldn't have fought them. Floyd wouldn't have fought Hearns and Leonard and Duran in their primes. Floyd would have waited until like maybe the late 80s for them to slow down, and then that's when he would fight him. Because that's what he's done in the history of his career.
Or he would have lost at least one fight, and then he wouldn't have been able to promote himself as an undefeated fighter, which was the key to his whole career.
Yeah.
So if he has a loss,
if Floyd had fought in those times, I wouldn't be surprised if there would have been some riots in some of the fights, because in those times people were a little bit more savage. They wanted a little bit more. So if Floyd would have came in there, done his Floyd thing, man, I'll be scared to be in the crowd, because who knows where the bottles are going to be coming from, because people.
Yeah,
but
if you remember,
type of a fight, then so that's why those guys gave us all those great fights, because people demanded.
Listen, I actually think that Sugar Ray Leonard would beat Floyd Mayweather in their primes. Prime. I think Sugar Ray Leonard beats him. I also think Tommy Hearns beats him too. He's got long arms. He's like Paul Williams.
I don't know about Tommy. Maybe Sugar Ray. He has the skill.
Tommy Hearns was a monster.
Tommy. Yeah,
guys, do you think Mayweather?
You know what, guys?
Sugar Ray Leonard would have had a better career had Tommy not damaged that eye in that fight with that jab.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Nelson,
Tommy damaged that eye. Yes, Imran. Sorry,
Nelson, I wanted to know your opinion on this, because I know that you speak of some of the old school fighters. I might surprise a few people. I actually think Floyd Mayweather would have beaten Sugar Ray Leonard. What do you think?
No way. No.
That's not a blasphemous statement.
Leonard,
because Sugar Ray had a very underrated chin, very underrated power. I just
you know
think
what
that
I'm
it's-
basing this off? You know what I'm basing this off? Sugar
Recency
Ray
bias.
said himself that Floyd's father gave him a lot of trouble.
he knocked them out.
He
dude.
said, he said, no, I'm stating what Sugar Ray said. He goes,
Yep.
I knocked his father out, but his father was very difficult fight for me. He was giving me a lot of trouble. And because he was being asked, how would you get on with Floyd Mayweather? And he goes, when I look at Floyd Mayweather, obviously he's a much better version of his father. He goes, the fighter in me says that I could beat him, but the civilian in me says that I think he would outsmart me and beat me. I think he himself looked at Floyd Mayweather and thought, this guy's a genius. He's special. You know, I think Leonard himself looked at him and thought, this guy is a great,
But
smart fighter.
is
Floyd
to
might,
answer-
Floyd
you
might
know
not
you know how
have
many
natural gifts.
Imran.
Yeah.
You know how many times Sugar Ray Leonard said? He's been asked that like 8 times, and 19
Probably more.
out of those 20 times he says he beats Floyd Mayweather.
To-
So a lot of
to
times,
answer-
a lot of times they're going to have different opinions because of respect. That's just the way it is, because of respect. But did you see Imran? Did you actually see the fight and Floyd Senior?
I have.
I
Have you
saw,
seen it?
to be honest, I saw highlights. I didn't watch the full
I'm
fight.
gonna-
Well,
But
watch the whole
Just-
fight and you tell me how much trouble he gave him, because it didn't look like he gave him
Yes,
that much
see,
trouble,
the
man,
only-
honestly.
no, I was saying I was quoting what he was saying. He said that
Yeah.
he said that his style was awkward and horrible, and he gave me trouble. And obviously, he said Floyd, his son
Sugar Ray-
Floyd, is much better. It was mastered that style better than his father. So I don't know. It's difficult one. Like if I ask my dad, he says that Sugar Ray Leonard would beat
54.
him. If I speak to many people, they'll say Floyd will. What I'm saying is to say that Floyd would beat Sugar Ray Leonard. I don't think it's a wild statement. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, I agree.
No,
I
but the
think that-
difference. But to answer that question, you
Yeah.
will have to look at to be honest with you, Senior did a great job. He was actually doing the same thing, but the only difference is that at that time fighters were asked to fight. So Senior
Yeah.
had to be aggressive with Leonard, whereas Floyd can be defensive, you know, and that's the only difference. If you notice, Leonard won because though Senior was using the same style Floyd was using it, he was using it in an aggressive manner because at that time it was demanded. Have
Yeah,
Floyd
Nelson, but-
used this- Mhm.
But Nelson,
And I believe Senior's
Senior's
a little
also
bit
bigger,
bigger.
dude.
Senior's actually bigger and more
Yeah.
physical
Yes,
than
exactly.
Junior. If you
Yes.
look at them,
Yes.
Floyd's father even now can probably kick your ass. You know what I mean? Like that's a tough.
No, he
tough
was
bird,
bigger.
man.
That's what I was
Yeah,
gonna
but
bring
Nelson-
up.
a lot of people
Nelson,
don't
He was
know this.
bigger. Floyd is
A lot
smaller.
of people don't know that a little bit after that fight, Senior had got shot in the leg, and he got locked up for 8 years on some drug charges, and this kept him from actually having a much better career, which is surprising.
Nelson,
You know?
what people don't forget about Sugar Ray Leonard at 147, he was hardly like seriously hurt. Like even against Duran, against Hearns, I couldn't see a point in the fight where, oh my God, like Sugar Ray Leonard's about to go down, right? And the thing is, a lot of those fighters, they're a lot stronger than Floyd. So I don't think Floyd Mayweather Jr. would hurt Sugar Ray Leonard. And I think Sugar Ray will take all of his punches. And I actually think that at 147, Sugar Ray can knock out Floyd. I really do.
To be honest,
If
now that I'm looking at the fight in my head,
if Mosley, if Sugar Ray Leonard was in Mosley's place, where he hurt Floyd, Leonard finishes Floyd off right there.
Oh, yeah. And Mosley was pushed up by
Sugar
that
Ray
time.
Leonard's one of the greatest finishers. Sugar Ray Leonard's greatest finishers of all time.
At 147.
Finish them off
at
right there.
He can
147.
punch now. He's not a bum.
Yeah, no. What I'm saying, what he's saying is, if a washed-up Mosley can seriously hurt Floyd. A prime Sugar Ray Leonard at 147, say in the early 80s, oh man, he would have knocked out Floyd.
In my opinion,
a fight between Floyd and Leonard is a tough one to pick, but I believe that Leonard will have more success with guys that Floyd will have problems with of that era.
Yeah,
you know, I think his style was a little bit underappreciated because, like I say, he used to fight at a different time. So if you look, he had to fight a little harder. But I would say that Sugar Ray
Leonard about Nelson.
was a great fighter.
What Sugar Ray Leonard did against Tommy Hearns, man. Tommy Hearns,
that fight cost him his career.
A monster, bro.
You know, it cost him his career. People don't know Hearns actually beat him twice after that, and people don't even remember that because that fight was so amazing.
Right.
That don't forget that Hearns and Leonard fought 2 more times, in which Hearns won both, but he was not giving. Yeah. It was crazy, but it was some legendary.
But the thing is, guys, here's the thing: the fact that we're even discussing Floyd against Sugar Ray Leonard. Sugar Ray Leonard was so much bigger than Floyd. He was a lot bigger man than Floyd. The fact that we even discussing this shows how great Mayweather was.
Yeah. No, but Imran, but that's
physical advantages over Floyd.
No,
but Imran, that's what we
it
were
took generations to build
earlier.
That product.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing with Juan Manuel Marquez and Manny Pacquiao against Floyd. It's the same thing.
What Floyd has,
of course.
What Floyd has took generations to build. I mean, his father was a fighter, his uncle was a fighter. He's from a fighting town. That product that Floyd was, it's not. It doesn't come around. It's very rare. You know, it takes a lot of generation to get to that.
Yeah.
You know,
he wasn't an exciting fighter. He was a guy that.
But he was special. But he was still special.
But
Imran.
Not Sugar Ray Leonard was a delight to watch.
Imran. Yeah. The early Floyd Mayweather was very exciting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
I get what you're saying, but his biggest fights, though, Rare Breed, his biggest fights, the fights where they were the most lucrative and where the people got to know him. Remember, when Floyd was fighting early on in his career, I was probably in primary school or secondary school. Like, do you see what I mean? Like, no one remembers those fights, even though, you go back and watch those fights. But his biggest fights, who was his biggest fights? Who was his biggest fights against? Pacquiao?
Yeah.
Canelo? Who else? Patton here in the UK. They weren't excited. They were not. They were boring. Like, let's be honest, they were boring. Like, so most of them were boring fights.
Yes.
They weren't exciting fights, and they were the fights that we remember Floyd in. The Gattis and the Corraleses and people like the hardcores at that time remember those fights, but the ones that were the big fights, they weren't very exciting. Like Pacquiao was in exciting fights with Marquez, he was in really exciting fights. Mayweather wasn't. Like, ever since I started watching Mayweather, it was very boring. It wasn't exciting. Like Nelson said, I genuinely fell asleep. Here in the UK, it's 4:00. And I fell asleep in some of the fights where I never would a Pacquiao fight. Mayweather wasn't exciting, but he was special, like Nelson said.
Yeah, just to add on what Rare Breed is saying, no one is disputing Mayweather's greatness, but what we're saying is he could have been greater, whereas Pacquiao is great also, but he's greater because he did all of those things.
Guys, what about 154?
I was
154 Sugar Ray Leonard versus Roy Jones Jr.
No. Did Roy fight at 154?
Roy started at 154.
I think Roy, he was a bit bigger, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I don't know. I don't think Sugar has ever been in the ring anybody as athletic as Roy.
Yeah, but I don't think Roy has the energy at 154 to go with Sugar Ray. But I think at 160, I think Roy beats him, but not at 154. That's too much of a cut.
It was another special talent. It was another special talent. It was hard to match that. Roy
is arguably the GOAT. Like, just off of pure Pure skill. Well, not pure skills, but pure athleticism.
Mhm.
Probably
Yeah.
the most gifted fighter ever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but his goatness per se, it's in a short
Weak,
period, whereas like
weak
say Ali,
arrows.
it's more about an
it's
overall
in a
career.
it's in a vacuum. It's in
The,
a vacuum
the,
because it's too reliant on athleticism and reflexes. So eventually, that's usually the first thing that goes away. Unfortunately. But
Bradley,
when it's at a speaker hours, it is super super difficult to challenge. Wow. You have to let that settle a little bit before taking it on, because it was just it was incredible. Roy was incredible.
I think had Roy fought one more great fighter in his prime, because he only because we can't count Bernard Hopkins because he was already it was just starting out at that time in the early
no. How
90s.
can he say that? How can he say that though? Bernard Hopkins was 28,
Because
29 years old.
Hopkins's prime was in the late 90s, early 2000s. They fought in the early 90s, right?
Yeah, but
Whereas,
they were both at the
James
they were
Toney.
both at the same stage. They were both at the same stage of their careers. Similar
no,
fights,
I
21.
think Roy was more advanced because Bernard Hopkins was in jail in late 80s, and Roy Jones was fighting in the Olympics in the late 80s. So that can't be this. It's not at the same stage. But what I'm
Bernard
saying is,
Hopkins, Bernard wasn't his
what I'm
physical
saying,
prime. He was
Ahmed, what I'm saying,
28, 29
Ahmed,
years
what I'm
old.
saying, Ahmed, what I'm saying is if Roy Jones fought another great fighter, because he fought someone at 168, I can't remember his name, James Toney. Like say if he fought Bernard Hopkins in the late 90s and beat him, then yeah, I think he has a claim for the GOAT. But because he only fought one, which was James Toney, I have to say Ali is the GOAT because Ali fought more great fighters than Roy. I mean, you know what I mean?
No, I'm just
Some people
talking
don't even
about
have
Roy
Roy in their
here. I
top
mean,
five.
nobody in the late 90s thought Bernard Hopkins could ever win a rematch against Roy.
Yeah, the goal would always be Joe Louis. The time, everything the man had to go through, it was he's the goal. He
I
gets
think Ali's the GOAT.
no, I think it's Joe Louis. I mean,
Joe Lewis.
Ali is. I mean, Ali. When I look at Ali, I look at him more as a human, like a great human. I don't look at him as I don't look at him as a fighter. I look at him beyond that, like somebody that did something besides.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I don't compare him as a fighter. When it comes to fighting, I would say Joe
Mhm.
Louis, my number
I can
one.
respect that. I can respect that, but this is why I think Ali's the GOAT. Yeah, obviously the after stuff matters, but if you just look at inside the ring,
And he did
he's
that with
fine.
class. Remember Joe Louis, man, the guy that been
Yeah,
through all of that, to be able to keep
yeah,
that same face, man,
no
throughout
doubt.
all that, it
The whole
takes a
thing.
lot of character, man. So
But dude, Joe Lewis really only fought two great
Yeah.
fighters,
what
Max
we know,
Schmeling.
What
I mean,
about
he fought
Sugar Ray
Shelly.
Robinson?
from what we know, because back then 90% of the fights were in some alley, man. you know, some guys were really getting
Nelson,
messed.
what about Sugar Ray Robinson?
Yes, yeah, he's my GOAT.
Yeah.
The little bit of clips that's been of him, because unfortunately for Robinson, there's not too much footage of him. But also, I mean, you can see by the little bit of the little bit of clips by him hitting the pair and his dancing ability. Because this was if you look at, I think Sugar Ray Robinson's biggest gift was he was a great tap dancer.
Yeah.
I mean, and
Nelson, I think
another
when you're
major.
talking about there's no footage, I think you're talking about his 147 campaign. But there is a lot of
Mhm.
footage of 160 though.
Not to mention, if
Yeah,
you
I mean,
watch Sugar Ray, if you watch his highlights, he looked like a fighter from this era put in that era.
Yes.
He looked like
Yeah.
ahead of his time.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
It was just it was a well all around guy. I mean, has
Yeah.
speed, power. You know,
Everything.
it was just, to be honest. I mean, isn't history say that pretty much Ali's greatest fighter was Robinson?
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
Ali
that's
based
what he looked up to.
style on Sugar Ray Robinson. That's pretty much who he looked up to. So that I
Yes.
got to tell you something. When your greatest of all time it's has his own greatest. So
Yeah, but Ali was in the ring with Foreman, Liston. Like some of these guys are like top 10 heavyweights of all time. And
Yeah, I agree.
And Foreman, people thought Foreman was gonna kill Ali before. People were scared for Ali's life before that fight.
And even in the late stages of Ali's career,
nobody that knew boxing that believed that. Let me just tell you that people that knew about boxing knew Foreman couldn't beat Ali, given his age. And Ali was telling everybody, it's a sweet science, I'm gonna get big, he was telling you, he literally, if you go back in the tapes, he was telling you, slow Joe. He's gonna he pretty much laid it out for people, but they didn't see it. You had to see it to believe it. So if George had been a little older,